Hello and welcome to Creator Weekly Live for the week ending June 25th. I'm Peggy Kay, and today I'm going to talk about some of the top updates for creators this week, including for video creators and bloggers and more. So to get started, I wanted to mention that this past week was VidCon in Anaheim, and because all of the big streaming companies were there, like Twitch and, of course, YouTube, which is one of the main sponsors, there were a bunch of announcements. The first thing I wanted to talk about, though, was a new trends report that was published by YouTube this past week. It's available to everyone. If you click the link to my latest roundup article, there are links to everything I talk about today. So if you want to get more information, that's the way to do it. All right, so YouTube did a survey of adults. And I want to mention, first of all, that the way they defined adults was age 18 to 44. So, adults don't include me because I'm older than that. And maybe it doesn't include some of you who are live today. Thank you for joining me. So just take that with a grain of salt. They interviewed something like 25,000 adults in a bunch of different countries. So this is a pretty comprehensive report for that 18 to 44-year-old age group. Now, the things that I found particularly interesting were, let me get to the correct page. The first thing I found interesting about this report is that it talked to people, again, around the world, and most of them consider themselves video creators. So you talk about 82% of the people surveyed say they posted video content online in the past year. And that's not just to YouTube, that could be to Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, wherever. And it's not just that they were posting videos, but look at this stat right here. 40% of people surveyed described themselves as video content creators. That's a lot of people. And of course, I should mention the fact that this report from YouTube, I think, is mostly aimed at marketers. And so that is the frame it's in. Again, if you're interested in a link to this report or anything else I've talked to today, please click the link in the description to my latest roundup. There are links to everything I talk about today there. All right, so we have all of these people all around the world. They upload video, they consider themselves video creators. That's a huge, huge market. But what does that mean to you as a creator? How can you use this information? And I think one thing you may want to check out is this video by Colin and Samir. They talk to YouTube's head of, YouTube's director of culture and trends. So they talked about what this could mean, and they really got into how AI may be affecting all of this. And I thought that was really interesting because they talk about using AI as a tool. So we're not talking about generating content, the way you imagine people doing it, where you see people generating text or generating images. It's not that those are going into the video. It's because AI can become part of your workflow. So it talks about generating prompts for creating new videos. It talks about using AI-based tools for editing video. And there are a lot of other ways you can use AI, for example, getting a good title for your video, all these things. So all of these tools are being integrated into the video editors and other sites that creators use. And that is maybe more likely how AI is going to affect you as a creator, rather than expecting people to just plug in a plot and have a video created for them, because that probably wouldn't be that interesting. All right, so what are the updates this week that YouTube and other platforms talked about? The first thing I wanted to mention is that YouTube has a new policy for fan channels. A fan channel is basically like a channel created by a fan. But the concern is that some people create these channels and they just re-upload content from the original YouTube channel or other video source. So the requirement is that you need to make it obvious in your channel name or handle that your channel does not represent the original creator, artist, or entity. If that affects you, you have until August 21st to fix your channel. Does not affect most people. This is really aimed at impersonators and sort of spammers who scrape content. But now let's get into sort of the really interesting updates. One thing that YouTube announced is that they are working on A/B thumbnail testing. And basically, it's going to be a way where you can compare one thumbnail to another thumbnail at the same time. So you upload multiple thumbnails to your video, and YouTube shows those thumbnails to different people, runs a test, see which one is more successful, which seems like a really useful tool. They're testing this right now. I think they said that this should be released more widely next year. So that should be really interesting. And Eileen is right. They should call it ABC testing, because apparently you can test up to 3 thumbnails at a time. The other update that I think is kind of cool is that supposedly YouTube has integrated this platform called Aloud into their team. This is out of Google's Area 120. And what this lets you do is use AI, again, talking about AI, to automatically dub your video in another language. According to the announcement I read, they really only do Spanish, Portuguese, and English right now. They are planning to have more languages, and they are apparently working on making the dubbing sound more like the original creator, that sort of thing. And again, we really need to think about this as a way of using AI, because this is probably all machine learning, automated, AI-based tool to help creators with their videos. You still need to make the original content yourself, but this helps you find a wider audience. All right. So those were the big updates from YouTube today, this week, I mean. And I'd love to hear what you all think about this week's updates. Welcome to everyone in the chat. It's good to see you here. Tell me what you think. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about video-wise today is an announcement from Twitch with a new feature called Hype Chat. So Hype Chat is very, very much like YouTube's Super Chat. And it works the same way. What you do is, if you're in the live chat, you pay some money and your message is then highlighted. It goes to the top of the chat and you can be featured by the streamer. So this looks familiar if you're familiar with YouTube Super Chat. I'm surprised Twitch didn't have that before. The split for creators is going to be 70-30. So net revenue, creators get 70%. I think that's the same as Super Chat for YouTube. And overall, it seems like it's a pretty good update. People don't seem mad about it anyway. The other Twitch update this week is that they are moving away from labeling mature content as mature content. So instead of a mature content label, there are now a bunch of different labels where you specify what kind of mature content your video has. So for example, that includes things like playing a mature rated game. And it sounds like that actually may be an automatic label if you're playing a game that's rated M. If you have significant profanity, you label that. If you have sexual themes and so forth. And this is not only to let viewers know that they're watching mature content, what kind of mature content they're watching, because it's possible some people are fine with lots of profanity, but they don't want to see a lot of violence and gore, for example. But of course, bottom line, this also lets advertisers know what kind of content is in the live stream so they can decide what kind of content they're willing to run their videos against. So this is a significant update. Twitch expects streamers to label their content correctly. If you don't do it correctly and it's flagged to them, they may change the label on the content. So if you're a Twitch streamer and you ever go anywhere near mature content, this is something that you should be aware of. The other really cool update I wanted to mention is an update for Patreon. Now, Patreon, I'm sure you're all familiar with. One of the things that they announced this week is that there is a new Patreon. You can make a landing page, and really, really importantly, you can now have people sign up for your Patreon, even if they're not going to pay. So they're touting Patreon as a way to reach your fans without any algorithms or any other interceding features. So your fans always see your updates and information. You can have exclusive content for people who pay, but the bottom line is you make a landing page and people can go there, and you can also now create a shop to sell e-goods from your Patreon landing page. So really, Patreon wants you to make that your home screen. I have mixed feelings about that, because whenever you use a third-party platform as your main homepage, you're sort of at the whims of those the platform. They could change things a year from now, and then where do your fans go? But it's something to consider if you use Patreon. Again, I want to say welcome to everybody who's in the live chat. I'm so happy that there are people here. It's great to see everyone. And again, I'd love to hear what you think about this week's updates. Andrew says you love the new background. Thank you, Andrew. This is, pretty boring in my home. I think internet law is I'm supposed to have a plant in the background, which I don't have. Maybe I'll find a plant. So Eileen mentions that you use Patreon and you're looking forward to the ability to sell digital products. It'd be great to hear how this works for you. I think selling digital products is really the direction a lot of platforms are going in. You have YouTube Shopping, where you sell merch and so forth. And I think it's an acknowledgement that advertising revenue is not always going to be there. So it can be difficult to use advertising revenue to rely on that in the long term. Shopping may be the alternative. So that is a pretty cool update. The only other thing I wanted to mention today is an update on Instagram. Now, if you use Instagram to upload videos, you are almost certainly familiar with Reels. Supposedly, according to this article in Social Media Today and Instagram, this is information from Instagram's CEO. In the US, they're rolling out the ability to download Reels shared by public accounts to your camera roll. This is supposed to allow people to download their own videos. And it sounds like you can also download other people's videos. That doesn't seem great. If you use Instagram, you can go into your Instagram settings and turn this off so nobody can download your Reels. Oh, and I missed one update, which I think is actually extremely significant, where WordPress has just announced that if you have a free WordPress.com account, you can now monetize your blog. So again, what we're talking about here is monetizing your blog with exclusive content, paid subscriptions, newsletters, selling things. Again, we have shopping as a revenue model, tip jar, whole bunch of different ways that you can monetize your WordPress blog without having a paid WordPress account. And this is actually pretty significant because up until now, I'm pretty sure you were not allowed to monetize your blog if you were on the free tier. This is not every kind of monetization, though. This only includes the kinds of monetization I mentioned, where you may have pay-gated content, subscriptions, newsletters, selling downloads, and so forth, you are not allowed to place ads on your blog unless you have a paid account. So you can't insert AdSense. WordPress has their own advertising platform, I think. So no ads, but you can monetize your content in other ways. And again, this is very similar to the model that YouTube has now. They announced that there is a lower tier of the partner program where you can have fan funding. And then only with the higher tier, you can have ad revenue as well. So fan funding and shops is the way of the future. And I just wanted to go back to the discussion and a question from Ismail, who asks, if Google shuts down Blogger, which platform would you switch to? That is, first of all, there's no indication that Google is going to shut down Blogger. Blogger is maybe not the most exciting service Google has, but it's a survivor, and they're updating it, at least in the background. So the short answer is I don't have plans to move my blog anywhere else, but if I did, I'd move to WordPress, because that is really the standard across the web. I've used WordPress before. They have a lot of new features. It seems like they're making it easier to customize. There's a great developer community with updates. So if Blogger went away for some reason, I'd use WordPress. And as Andrew mentions, that's a huge update for WordPress free accounts. It really is. It really is. So this gives creators a place to start earning a little money, building fans, before you have to lay out money to pay for a monthly subscription, which can be kind of cost prohibitive when you're first starting out. And Chef MDT2 says, in the future, when you're more comfortable, I'll start sharing this on Twitter before you go live. Feel free to do that now. I'm learning on the fly. I post it to my Twitter, and you're welcome to share the link. I think having more people in the audience is actually kind of stimulating. So those are the updates for this week. Again, click the link in the description if you would like links to all of these various updates. And I wanted to leave you today with your one thing to try. And this week, I wanted to mention that YouTube has an option to sign up to potentially be in these test audiences for various new features. You click the sign up button, and you can then potentially take part in studies. They do base their options on what kind of channel you have, how big your audience is, and so forth. If you're interested in potentially testing new YouTube features, you should definitely sign up for possible research. So I'm putting the link in the chat. And again, it's in my weekly newsletter and in my blog post. So that's everything for this week. I hope you found it interesting. Thank you so much for joining me live. I will see you next Sunday. Thanks again.